Chapter 1623. The cat seemed to have noticed the vibration of the phone and meowed. Hoshino, on the other hand, looked at the content of the message and raised his brows. He could still see the green bamboo in the message and the gentleness of a bandit. He knew very well what Chin Mo was thinking. However, he really didn't expect Z to get married one day. Those dusty emails in the online world were probably to confirm that she was still there. Now, she was finally not alone. Hoshino couldn't describe the feeling in his heart. He was happy and empty at the same time. After all, she was his young lord. He raised his hand and took a sip of coffee. Just as he was about to reply, a hand suddenly reached out and took the phone from his hand. It was Yu Cixin. He seemed to have just gotten out of bed. His long hair was tied loosely behind him. He was wearing black pajamas and his half-exposed skin was very fair. His sharp handsomeness and evilness increased as he took the phone. Both of them were about the same height. Hoshino was at most 2 centimeters taller than Yu Cixin. But this had made Yu Cixin very unhappy in the past. Now, he was unhappy about Hoshino's reaction. He pressed the phone screen and replied on his behalf. I wish you two a long life together. I will attend the wedding. Hoshino glanced at him. Don't reply randomly. What do you mean by randomly? Yu Cixin smiled. Even the corners of his lips were evil and he had the aura of a gangster. Our vice captain, don't tell me that you don't even dare to attend a wedding. Hoshino caressed the cat beside his hand. He didn't linger on this question and just reached his hand over. Yu Cixin narrowed his eyes and suddenly smiled. He placed the phone back in Hoshino's hand. I'll go with you and do some business. Your uncle is still eyeing you. Are you sure you want to leave at this time? Hoshino's voice was very calm. Yu Cixin's gaze deepened. He has been eyeing me for a long time. Yu Cixin paused for a moment. Don't worry, I won't ruin Z's wedding. After all, I hope that she will get married soon. That way, you won't have to keep your promise. It's really annoying to provide clues for the Bo family for generations. Hoshino paused for a moment before replying softly, I volunteered to provide her with clues. Yu Cixin scoffed. So what? She still married someone else. Hoshino didn't say anything else and strolled into the room. Yu Cixin laughed and smashed the coffee cup on the table. When Hoshino came out again, what he saw was the man sitting on the sofa, watching the TV lazily. There was a mess under his feet. He walked over and called someone over to pack up. Yu Cixin said lazily, you don't have to, just leave it like that. The man in black didn't know what to do. He looked at young Master Hoshino and then at his boss. Hoshino's voice was soft as he looked down at him. You want to attend the wedding like this? Yu Cixin glanced up and muttered, it's not that you don't want me to go. I didn't say that. Hoshino kept the things. The man in black noticed it too. The moment young Master Hoshino said that, the ruthless and cold aura on his master was finally gone. Chapter 1624. On the other side, the night before in Jiang City. Lin Feng was a little depressed. He couldn't put his finger on it. Anyway, it was a social occasion. He just drank some wine casually. When he was dressed in a suit, he would always look especially handsome after drinking, with a lazy sexiness. At the table, the other CEOs asked, Brother Lin, you're really young and influential. Lin Feng wasn't very drunk, he replied humbly, no, it's the people in the company. Brother Lin, how's your love life? Do you need me to introduce a girlfriend to you? The moment he finished his sentence, someone touched his shoulder. That person was enlightened. He seemed to have heard that this person from the Lin family had a different taste. Ha ha ha, look at me, I just like to be a matchmaker, I'm used to it. Let's drink. Ha ha ha, look at me. I just like to be a matchmaker. I've gotten used to it. But honestly speaking, at such an occasion, there would definitely be people coming in to accompany them. But to be honest, in this kind of occasion, there would definitely be people coming in to drink with them. After all, there were a lot of beauties coming in. Basically, they sat beside each other. But among so many people, their favorite seat was definitely beside Lin Feng. However, among so many people, their favorite spot was definitely beside Lin Feng. The beauty picked up the wine pot and filled his cup again. Her eyes seemed to be saying, "Such a handsome man, even if it's just business, I don't know who's sleeping with whom." This was the first time she had such a high-quality customer. Of course, she had to make good use of it. It was the first time she had such a high-quality customer. Of course, she had to make good use of it. And she could tell that this handsome guy was hiding something. At this moment, it should be the best time to approach him. Indeed, Lin Feng wasn't so guarded today. The main thing was that he didn't understand why Yunhu didn't agree when he mentioned marriage. Although he understood. Damn it. He couldn't accept it at all. Lin Feng lowered his lids and finished another glass of wine. He reached out and pulled his collar, his fringe falling down as he lit his cigarette. It was really mesmerizing. The girl leaned closer to him. But for some reason, Lin Feng took a step back. He seemed to be sober as he muttered to himself, "He doesn't like people touching me." The girl thought that Lin Feng was talking about his girlfriend. She didn't think it was a big deal. If he didn't let her accompany him today, she would have to accompany someone else. Hence, the girl hoped that Lin Feng could drink more. As it turned out, Lin Feng had indeed drunk a little too much. He was even a little shaky. When the dinner was almost over, the girl wanted to help him up. Swoosh. The door was pulled open. Everyone's body froze. After seeing the figure outside clearly, they all stood up. After all, the Yun family had brought Yunhu out for activities. Therefore, these people still recognized the young master of the Yun family. It was just that he didn't seem to be easy to get in touch with. After all, it was normal for people who stood in that position. Now that they saw him here, they were stunned for a moment, then they hurriedly stood up. But before they could greet each other. Chapter 1625. It was just a polite sentence. They understood what he meant. Mainly, they knew that Boss Lin was different from others. However, he had never imagined that his partner would be young Master Yun. They had assumed that Lin Feng had a small celebrity as his mistress. After all, they liked this kind of lifestyle. Who would have thought that it would be like this? His other half was such a powerful person and he had come out personally to handle business. What was going on? This was great. Young Master Yun had come personally to catch him. Would they dare to not let him go? They were even afraid that young Master Yun would misunderstand and think that they wanted Boss Lin to do something out of line. They hurriedly thanked him. "If there's a chance in the future, we will be the host. Young Master Yun, you must give us face. We'll talk about it in the future." Yunhu's gaze was hard to read. "Thank you for taking care of him today." Everyone. Was he really thanking them or just pretending? It was probably because the voice was too familiar. When Lin Feng heard it, he glanced down instinctively. "Yunhu? Congratulations, our young Master Lin still knows who I am." Yunhu's voice was neither fast nor slow. However, Lin Feng could still hear the unhappiness in her voice. He hadn't even thrown a tantrum. Why did Huzi make the first move to gain the initiative? No, he couldn't leave. He had to have a good talk with him. Lin Feng tugged his collar. After leaving the room, he pressed Yunhu against the wall, his handsome face reeking of alcohol. "I'm very annoying, do you know that?" Annoying? Yunhu's gaze sank because of this word. He pushed him away and arched a brow. "Why? Do you think I interrupted your good time?" Because of the alcohol, Lin Feng was tongue-tied. "What good time? Don't change the topic." Yunhu still wanted to say something. Just then, someone walked out. It was the beauty sitting beside Lin Feng. She looked at Lin Feng with obvious reluctance. That reluctance pierced Yunhu's eyes. This made the possessiveness that he hadn't felt in a long time rise again. Without any hesitation, he stretched out his hand to stop the man who reeked of alcohol and planted a fierce kiss on his thin lips. His right hand exerted force. He didn't give the man any chance to resist. It seemed that only in this way could he calm down and listen to his explanation. Both of them were wearing suits and had the same slender figure. At this time, separated by the hotel's bamboo curtain, it gave people an indescribable sense of beauty. This kiss was seen by many people. The person who had sent the message to Yunhu thought. This time, no one would dare to drag Lin Feng to such a place. Even if they were doing business, they had to consider where they should eat. After all, no one wanted to provoke the young master of the Yun family. Some of the merchants did understand and did not keep quiet after seeing it. The girl, on the other hand, paused for a moment, then her whole body stiffened, because she was the closest to the two people. Among them, the young master didn't look at her in a friendly manner. Especially after the kiss, he glanced over at her through the bamboo curtain as if to say that this guy was mine. Lin Feng seemed to have calmed down by the kiss. He didn't know why, but he started laughing. Then he raised his hand and covered his eyes. I seem to have drunk too much. You allowed others to get close to you because you drank too much? Yunhu pressed his head. MMH? Chapter 1626. Yunhu was about to ask what was bothering him. That person immediately straightened his back and seemed to be very serious. In reality, he was still drunk. He looked at him with dark eyes. Why did you hesitate when I said I wanted to marry you? Marriage? The surrounding people were all shocked. Only Yunhu looked at his tipsy face and asked, when did I hesitate? Can't I tell if you hesitated or not? Lin Feng leaned there and lit a cigarette, probably to sober himself up. It's really annoying. Yunhu looked at him and took the cigarette from his fingers. His gaze landed. So you are annoyed because you think I hesitated? What do you mean I think, at that time? Don't think that he forgot his attitude just because he was drunk. Unfortunately, Lin Feng didn't finish his sentence. Yunhu interrupted him, his voice unhurried. I was replying to Zi's message at the time. Also, I had already bought a plane ticket overseas for you to get married overseas. That day, you gave me your household register and information. Did you forget about it? Lin Feng stilled, his handsome face a little dazed. Isn't that for the company's business expansion? Household register and passport for business expansion. Yunhu arched a brow. Lin Feng grabbed his hair. King embarrassing. There was no one nearby, right? How could there be no one? Basically, everyone in the business circle was here. But because this was young Master Yun's melon, no one dared to interfere. However, the topic of marriage really shocked them. Those two weren't just playing around. Were they getting married? With Boss Lin's conditions, if the other party was a businessman and said he was serious, they might believe him. But he was young Master Yun. Ever since the Lin family declined. Even if young Master Yun wanted to play around with Boss Lin, he wouldn't have to worry. After all, the Yun family was in power now. But marriage, everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment. Lin Feng sensed their gazes and sobered up. Basically, he understood what a pain in the ass he had gotten himself into. Even he didn't know why, but whenever Yunhu was involved, he would be especially concerned. Or rather, he felt insecure. Anyway, he couldn't explain it. He felt that they just knew each other for a long time. The more Lin Feng socialized, the more he thought about it. He knew very well what men's meals were like every day. In the future, when that person's status reached a certain level, there would be many people who would think of ways to send people to him. Even if it wasn't a girl, she could still give it to a boy. The rules after adulthood were basically the same. Once or twice, he might not be tempted. But after that? He had always liked men, right? Lin Feng felt annoyed just thinking about this. She wasn't afraid that they couldn't be together anymore, It would be better to say that he was afraid. When the time came, even if he discovered that the other party had ulterior motives, he would not want to let go. If he let go, he would still be envious and disgusted. But if they were just brothers, there wouldn't be any of this. He didn't want to become that kind of person, begging for love all the time. But at the same time, Lin Feng truly understood one thing. It was getting harder and harder for him to leave such a person. She even had the thought of marrying this person. He had really gone crazy. That was why he cared about that person's reaction at that time. Chapter 1627. I'm asking you a question. Do you need a household register and passport to expand your business? Yunhu repeated his words. Lin Feng coughed lightly. When he came back to his senses, he stuttered, "Did you just say you're going overseas to get married?" Yunhu glanced over. Lin Feng tugged his collar again, not looking at him. Are we really getting married? Are you shy, almighty Lin Feng? In the past, whenever Yunhu teased Lin Feng, he would use the word almighty when they were playing games. Lin Feng glanced up. When have I ever been shy? I was just surprised. You should have told me in advance that you're getting married in such a hurry. I could have gotten my secretary to prepare a set of clothes or something, and I've already prepared everything for you. Yunhu smiled faintly. You just need to tell the priest that you are willing when he asks you. Lin Feng's face was burning. Oh. Yunhu asked again, are you sober? I woke up a long time ago. You came in so suddenly. Those who don't know might think someone owes you money. Lin Feng had been rather handsome during the meal, but the moment he was in front of Yunhu, he naturally became talkative. Yunhu smiled leisurely, reaching out to grab his wrist, his voice calm. Since you're sober, let's talk about how you almost cheated on me just now. Cheated? F***ck? That was a huge accusation. When did he cheat? He just drank a little too much. Lin Feng opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But when Yunhu passed by the beauty standing there, he paused slightly. Do you need to bid farewell to your lover? Lin Feng didn't need to say anything. Had he really been caught in the act? He hadn't done anything. However, Lin Feng also knew that someone seemed to be very close to him just now. Before he left, Yunhu had said that he could socialize but not let anyone touch him. That terrifying possessiveness. Why hadn't he noticed it in the past? After Yunhu brought him away, the businessmen inside walked out. Only then did the merchants who were standing inside walk out. Apart from feeling incredulous, they couldn't believe it. Then, another figure walked over with a beautiful woman in his arms. His smile was charming. Everyone can see it now. Young Master Yun doesn't seem to like his wife coming to this kind of place. It's a social event, after all. Go to more formal places in the future. Everyone. As young Master Li who talks business here every day, is it appropriate for you to say this? After returning to the car, Yunhu tossed the jacket in his hand to the side. It was Lin Feng's jacket. He was so drunk that he didn't even know to wear his suit jacket. That was what Yunhu was most concerned about. Of course, he was also touched by someone else. Yunhu was afraid of one thing. Because this person had always liked girls. It wasn't easy for him to accept him, to start in this way. If there really was a girl who deliberately seduced him and lured him away. After he tried it, he still felt that girls were better. What should he do? Therefore, he really didn't want him to come to such a place. Chapter 1628. How is that possible? What nonsense are you talking about? Lin Feng leaned back, the back of his ears burning. You don't have to be in such a position. Yunhu didn't move. You were closer to someone just now. Are they very close? Lin Feng's eyes flickered, then he pushed her away, and the two of them switched places. I'm serious, I was just annoyed just now, but I'm not annoyed now. If someone gets closer to me, I'll definitely push them away. Besides, I've already done that with you, so why would I still be interested in women? What before? They were both pressed against the car, but Yunhu's aura had changed. He was much more relaxed. Lin Feng replied, "That, a good time." Yunhu arched a brow. "Can I understand that no matter what happens in the future, you won't touch anyone else?" "That's for sure." Lin Feng glanced at him, frowning. "Are you really worried that I'll be interested in someone else?" The unexpected answer made Lin Feng pause for a moment. Yunhu pressed the back of his head, his thin lips landing on the corner of his mouth. He bit down heavily, his voice even lowering. "You don't seem to have realized how many rotten peach blossoms there are around you. Regardless of whether it's a man or a woman, they always challenge my bottom line. There's still a love letter from your first love in the drawer." Lin Feng opened his mouth. "I forgot to throw it away." "Didn't you snatch my first love away? Besides, I didn't even fall in love with her and you guys got together. It's a little unfair. Indeed, logically speaking, I shouldn't be like this. I've always felt that people who struggle with their past aren't generous, but when it's you, I can't be generous at all." Yunhu looked at him. "I don't like to open your drawer and see things related to the girl who has a crush on you." Lin Feng was slightly surprised because of Yunhu's serious expression. He had never expected Yunhu to feel uneasy. He had always thought that he was the only one who felt uneasy. But now, it seemed like if he really liked someone, would there be times when he would worry about his gains and losses? "I'll throw it away." At this point, Lin Feng changed the topic. "Shouldn't you remind Li Yu not to always send people to your side? Do you really think I'm dead?" Yunhu paused and suddenly laughed. "He wouldn't dare. He gave it to me in the past." Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. He had an expression that said, "Don't think that I don't know." It was very handsome. Yunhu replied slowly, "That was a long time ago. When you didn't agree to it, he gave it to me once and I smashed his shop." Lin Feng. Indeed, he had nothing to say. "Compare my attitude to the person who came knocking on my door and look at you." Yunhu straightened his back and tidied his collar. "Don't you feel ashamed?" Lin Feng felt that this direction wasn't quite right. When she came back to her senses, she was kissed again. "It's so unsafe. Hurry up and follow me overseas to get a stamp." This was Yunhu's last sentence as his breath faded. Overseas, Fifth Avenue. William, an international friend, had always thought that being the best man was challenging enough. He didn't expect that devil Chin Mo to let him run the field. Did he look like a worker? He was the son of a world-class director. Chapter 1629. It was useless to say okay. He still had to find him. At this time, he had to show off his wealth in front of the Eastern Devil. Hence, William invited a lot of people out that day. Basically, there were people from all professions, just to show off in front of Chin Mo. One of them felt bored. "Is there anything?" "If there's nothing, I'll go back first." "You'll be playing games when you go back. What's so good about facing the computer?" William lowered his voice. "Just you wait. That devil will be here soon." That person was indeed interested in playing games, but he wasn't interested in Asians at all. William's description of him was a little too exaggerated. How could Asians be so powerful? In the game, they were often abused by him. Not to mention in real life. He had already invested a lot of money in the gaming club under the company. He was preparing to enter some competitions. Of course, he didn't have time to waste here. "Come and find me when Asians are as tall as me." That person stood up and was about to leave. The door was pushed open. It was Chin Mo. He wasn't wearing a suit, just a simple shirt and trousers, but his noble aura made the person opposite him pause. Sometimes, to see if a person had status, other than the watch, there was another thing that could show it. That was the buttons on his cuffs. But this time, the cufflinks Chin Mo wore were given to him by Bojio. In some ways, Bojio had always been more luxurious than Chin Mo. It was enough to show the value of the cufflinks. Putting aside the amount of money. Many people wanted to get their hands on it, but it had already been bought by someone else in an auction. Businessmen wanted this as an embellishment. Abbott was one of them. When he caught sight of Chin Mo's right sleeve, his gaze shifted, and he glanced over slowly. William, on the other hand, was panicking. What should he do? The devil must have heard what he said. Based on the devil's personality, he would definitely seek revenge for this matter. He hadn't forgotten the devil's background. Obviously, Abbott didn't realize what was wrong with him. He was still very polite in front of others. He smiled lightly. Are you the Asian friend William knows? Chin Mo lifted his lids casually, replying indifferently, MMH. This allowed Abbott to quickly define him. On the surface, he seemed to have a strong aura, but in fact, he was like most of the Easterners he knew. He was not good with words and did not know how to communicate with others. Previously, several universities had rejected many Asians because of this incident. He admitted that the Easterners were very strong in terms of specialization, but in other aspects, they were very average. To prevent William from deifying this person in front of him in the future, he might as well break it now. Moreover, he was very interested in the cufflinks on the man's sleeves. Speaking of which, it was strange that this cufflink had fallen into the hands of an Asian. Abbott's golden eyes smiled with some arrogance. I heard that you want William to help you find a wedding venue? Help? Chin Mo pondered the word. The back of William's neck stiffened. All right, he had received money before. Abbott continued, some venues can only be visited by locals, but you can find them with William's connections, but it's not free, sir. Oh. Chin Mo arched a brow. Chapter 1630. William wanted to ask if he could keep his mouth shut. Chin Mo had already opened his mouth. What's the compromise? It's not good to ask for payment directly. I've been playing games recently. I heard from William that you've played games before. Let's have a competition. If you win, we'll help you with the venue and other things. After saying that, Abbott smiled. If you lose, I'll take this cufflink on your sleeve as the reward. How about it? Chin Mo glanced at his cufflink, still noble. Although I've already paid you, I don't like it when others have designs on my things. What game? Hero, how about it? Abbott hadn't expected him to have already paid him, but since the other party had agreed, it would be good to proceed according to the script he had written. Chin Mo raised his brows slowly. Hero? That's right, hero. You should know how to play it. After all, it's such a popular game. Abbott didn't hear the hidden meaning behind Chin Mo's words. Chin Mo tugged at his collar, his emotions calm. I know how to play. There's no computer here and the server is more complicated than the mobile game. Let's play the mobile game faster. Abbott took out his phone. Chin Mo had already uninstalled the game when he arrived. He glanced up at William. Give me a phone with a game. When Abbott heard this, he was even more convinced that the person in front of him, whom William called a devil, was more or less exaggerated. At least in terms of gaming, he should be average. Otherwise, it would be impossible for there to be no heroes on his phone. William, who was familiar with Chin Mo, wanted to remind his friend that the almighty devil was scary like this. My phone can only have my account. William was still struggling. Chin Mo glanced at him. Then we'll use your account. I just started playing. I don't have anything. To be honest, William was really bad at games and he didn't have much time to play games. With so many beauties accompanying him, who would want to play games, right? Anyway, he didn't play games because he was bad. Chin Mo's voice was calm. As long as you have a role. What else could William say? He pushed the phone forward. He really couldn't afford to offend the almighty devil. Ebert reached out and patted his back. Hey, seriously, raise your head. William, shut up. What do you know? Ebert was still laughing. That account of yours doesn't have anything, right? You're not good at it usually. Just watch how I beat him. William replied, I'm not good at it. Devil, torture him. Albert didn't know what was going on, so he first logged in. He was good friends with William, so it was convenient for him to invite William over. Chin Mo glanced at William's account. There wasn't anything. Fortunately, there was an assassin he could use. Albert was still very gentlemanly. Do you want to change numbers? There's no need. Chin Mo's long fingers moved back and forth, adjusting the settings. Come on. At this moment, a figure walked in. Her silver hair matched her black t-shirt, and her skin was the fair skin of a vampire noble. Her lips curled into a smile. I found you. William opened his mouth. 9, MMH? Bojo walked past him, glancing at his hands. Game? Chapter 1631. Competing with Brother Mo in gaming? Bojo arched a brow when she heard the news, a devilish smile on her face. This laugh really brought out the shadows of William's childhood. Every time Joe acted like this, someone was going to be in trouble. Albert didn't understand what was going on. Just then, the silver-haired pretty youngster walked towards him and patted his shoulder. Excuse me. Albert was confused. What did she mean? Brother, I'm impressed. Bojo smiled faintly, turning towards the people on the other side. Isn't your friend good at gaming? The people on William's side laughed. Of course, Albert is half a professional gamer. Oh. Bojo's eyes lit up. Do you want to bet on who will win? Are you sure? I'll bet on Albert. MMH, I'm sure. It was time to earn some extra money. If Bojo had a silver white tail behind her, it would definitely be wagging. Her thoughts were clear in his eyes. He didn't stop her, daily entertainment could make her more innocent. After all, her rebellious period was rather long. Albert said, My friend, you should bet less, I'm afraid you'll lose too much. Bojo smiled faintly. Oh. The person on the other side introduced, Albert is really knowledgeable about gaming and has been investing in it recently. His team is going to participate in the international competition soon, you really shouldn't play with him. Bojo replied nonchalantly, Let's play first, we'll talk after. She was in a hurry to collect the money. William shifted over. Can you really play? Uh-huh. Bojo asked, How rich is he? William took a moment. He's very rich, he wants the devil's button. It would have been fine if he hadn't mentioned the button, but the moment William did, Bojo glanced over and said slowly, Then I'll bet more money. William thought. You look like you're trying to bankrupt the other party. Ebert didn't seem bothered, his fingers moving slightly as he said to Chin Mo, Why don't I give you a minute and let you get your equipment first? After all, it's gambling now and your friend seems to have high hopes for you. Lover, Chin Mo replied with 2 words. Abbott didn't understand. Huh. That's my lover, Chin Mo replied calmly. Ebert paused for a moment. Didn't they say that Asians were more reserved? Where were they reserved? Hey, Albert, you can't just be in a daze. A voice came from the side. We all bet on you. Albert confidently chose the character he was best at. Coming right up. Winning was a piece of cake for him. The other side had chosen a squishy assassin. Against a support tank like him, they would definitely lose. Friend, you really don't understand this game at all. It's not the assassin style anymore. If it's a 1v1, it still depends on the tank. Albert slid his fingers. But don't worry. Since you're William's friend, I'll go easy on you. As Albert spoke, he controlled his character to rush out. There are no big screens here. The men crowded around Albert, watching. Bojo took out a small notebook. Chin Mo multitasked, glancing up at her. What are you doing? Chapter 1632. William. Have you thought it through? Was the devil good at gaming? William was a terrible gamer. He didn't pay attention to professional competitions and was far away from him. Hence, he didn't know that Chin Mo was a professional gamer. Albert's men were excited to see how he would torture the opponent. Hence, they didn't notice the commotion. Albert had been clearing the soldiers for a long time and had started to attack the tower, but he didn't see anyone on the map. Was the opponent so afraid that he didn't dare to come? William, ask your friend to come out. If he doesn't come out, how are we going to fight? The person on the other side laughed. Before he could finish his sentence, Albert suddenly paused beside them. Following that, a crisp sound effect rang in his ears. First blood. First blood? Albert killed someone? They lowered their lids and looked at the screen. Their eyes froze and they opened their mouths in disbelief. Albert, how did you die? Albert hadn't expected this either. All he did was fill in a line of minions. He had been cut off from the back. That person, how did he appear so quickly? Besides, he was a support tank. If it was a 1v1, it was impossible for a tank to lose to an assassin. The other party had been low on HP. If he had been any closer, the other party would have been dead. I didn't notice. Albert ignored the part that had dazzled him and caused him to miss out on his skills. Wait a moment. Albert decided not to waste any more time. He would head straight to the other party's territory to find him. Thus, the resurrected Ebert walked towards the river without a second thought. With the mist as a cover, the other party wouldn't be able to see where he was. But that was just Albert's idea. Before he could cross the river, the vision that Chin Mo had set up in the jungle was effective. Abbott, on the other hand, sensed the danger and wondered if he should retreat. But the silver figure beside him was one step faster. It lifted him up and hit him with a big move. Albert was still in a daze. Why was the damage so high? Wasn't the other party using William's account? William's account shouldn't have any damage. Wait a minute, finances. How could the other party's finances be so much higher than his? Albert wanted to retreat. However, he realized that Chin Mo seemed to be able to predict every step he took. Even his landing spot was grasped clearly by Chin Mo very soon. The music started playing again. Albert looked at himself lying in the game, and then at the silver-white figure who had recovered half of his HP. His eyes began to waver. The expression of the person standing next to him also changed. Albert, you again, what's the hurry? I'm a late-game hero. Abbott blushed. He lifted his head and looked at Chin Mo, who was moving his fingers casually. Once I develop, it will be different. At this moment, Chin Mo placed his phone to the side and stuffed a hand into his pocket. He said calmly, I'll wait for you to clear the troops first. If you continue fighting, your home will be gone. Albert paused. This time, he realized that the last defense tower on his path was gone. This guy, he's been cutting off the line of soldiers all along. No need. Ebert gritted his teeth. Fight however you want. Is that so? Chin Mo arched a brow, reaching for his phone again. Chapter 1633. So arrogant? Albert's eyes darkened. This was his territory, he thought. If he wanted to forcefully demolish it, he would let him die here. After Albert recovered his mana, he released a skill, wanting to kill Chin Mo. At this moment, even if their finances were much worse, he would still have an advantage with the attack of the city crystal. But what he didn't expect was that he would continue to deal so much damage. Nothing happened to the other party. Albert was stunned. He saw that the silver-white figure was glowing with a golden light, and his eyes were wavering. It was a golden body. When did this guy change his equipment? Albert was speechless. Without any skills, he was thrown into the air. That person's movements dazzled him. He wasn't able to react at all. Albert's hands were numb. He watched helplessly as that person tortured him to death in the spring. Was this guy a monster? His hand's speed and movements made Albert feel as though he was being strangled. Chin Mo just stood there as though he was saying, "If I can fight as I want, you don't have to fight anymore." Albert's face turned ashen. But deep down, it was still there. After the city was destroyed, his face burned. Under his friend's disbelieving gaze, he said in a low voice, "I lost. I will try my best for the venue." With that, he wanted to leave with his people. Bo Jio turned, her evil smile didn't diminish. "Sirs, please give me the bet first." They didn't have so much cash on them. The person flipped the laptop in his hands. His lips were still curved. "You can transfer money online." Everyone. Why did he even think of this? "William, where exactly did you get to know these two Asians?" As for why William called the elegant man the Great Devil, they had basically seen it for themselves. He looked nonchalant, but when he fought, it sent chills down their spines. He was willing to lose the bet, but the amount was a little big. Albert still wanted to say something. But before he could speak, someone laughed beside his ear. "I heard that you're very interested in the button I gave to my fiancé." People usually attract trouble when they're interested in something that doesn't belong to them. "Albert, your uncle is much better than you. Otherwise, your grandfather wouldn't have hesitated to give his inheritance to someone else." Albert froze when he heard that. He looked at the androgynous face in front of him, as if it had been kissed by God. He felt that although this person had bright eyes and white teeth when she smiled, there was a dark feeling about her, like the vampire aristocrats in the movies who could see through all your secrets. "Who are you? How could you? You know about the internal affairs of their family?" Bo Jio brushed past him. "There's nothing I don't know here. Bullying my little Princess Mo, you really deserve a beating." William was aware that Bo Jio was her husband's bodyguard. He could tell from the side that Abbott had chosen to provoke the devil. He had provoked that person once when he was young. He was beaten up by Jio to the point where he started to doubt his life. It was better not to mention that experience. After all, Bo Jio was pure and flawless in front of Chin Mo. For example, she was still smiling faintly, as though she wasn't the one who had said those harsh words. "Brother Mo, look, there are more betrothal gifts." Chapter 1634. 11:30 p.m. Jiang City International Airport. Ever since Lin Feng and Yun Hu retired, the members of the Supreme Alliance had never been so united. This time, everyone was here. Even Yin Wuyao, who went out to relax, was dressed in a suit. These people were used to wearing their uniforms. After changing into suits, they always wanted to pull their collars. The youngest among them was Mo Bei. She was carrying a school bag and wearing a cap. Her small face was expressionless. No matter how Coco teased her, her emotions didn't change. Coco was helpless. Little Bei doesn't have any reaction. Who said she didn't have any reaction? Feng Yi was the leader. He smiled. "Haven't we been studying how to send the flowers?" Coco didn't listen and went to tease her again. At this moment, Mo Bei looked down. Because she was short, she looked really small. But her aura had gradually grown. "Don't disturb me, I'm looking at the process." Coco laughed and turned to pull Feng Shang. "Look, little Bei is angry, she is angry." Feng Shang didn't want to know this guy. The Supreme Alliance seemed to be the same as before. When they were together, there was never an awkward silence. Even if Lin Feng was dressed like a dog now, he would still be together with them. There were times when Feng Yi looked at these people and would often think, Could they play another match? Just one match would be enough. Later on, he didn't think so. It was because Lin Feng and Yun who had retired. He thought of many ways in which he would send them away one day. The only thing he didn't think of was because of some people's questioning. It was good now. It was all for the team to digest. In the future, they would be able to meet often. Young Master Qin probably meant to hide it completely. Indeed, it was good to live a life without being disturbed in the future. Marriage. Such a thing. Feng Yi had never thought about it. They were all destined to be alone. But fortunately, the Supreme Alliance still had Little Guy. Feng Yi liked to call Mo Bei Little Guy. It was like this throughout the journey. There wasn't a moment of boredom. Until after they alighted from the plane. Lin Feng asked him, "What does a groom usually do?" The top manager, Fox Feng, paused. "I'm not married, thank you." Coco didn't stand on ceremony. Yun who should be the one thinking about this, you don't have to think about it. F***ck, what do you mean? Lin Feng pulled off his tie, looking very handsome. You want to fight one-on-one? Afraid of you? Come on. Feng Yi separated the two of them. Mind your image, this is overseas. Master sent me the address. Mo Bei said, it seems to be this location. He asked us to go there directly. Lin Feng glanced over. Who found this place? That doesn't seem like the captain's style. Wasn't Little Spade the one who proposed? Little Spade must be the one who asked for it. Coco's lips curved upwards. Didn't Captain say that he's marrying into the family? Lin Feng, the only person who can make eating rice sound so fresh and refined is the captain. Let's go. Yun who just wanted this person to belong to him legally as soon as possible. 5th Avenue. Private villa area further up the mountain, there was a very small church. Although the church was small, it was beautifully decorated. There were even some vines wrapped around the walls, decorated with white roses. It was filled with black and red roses. Some people said that this was the private church of the nobles in the past. Some people said that the vampire count used to live here. Now, the surroundings were as beautiful as a painting. Chapter 1635. But the groom, Qin Mo, raised his eyebrows and said slowly, "Are you sure I want to dress like this?" Hoshino smiled faintly, as gentle as jade, but he seemed to be watching a good show. Joe's idea. Why? You don't like to cosplay as a character in the game? Qin Mo didn't bother about this sentence. Instead, he looked past him and landed his gaze on Yusishin. His voice was calm. Did you bring your family? Hoshino paused for a moment. Qin Mo stood up and looked down at his white shirt. A character in the game? Should he be glad that he didn't hang a gourd on his neck? Yusishin swirled his wine glass. It's good enough that you didn't dress as a girl. Young Master Qin, you should think about it. You are marrying Z, remember to look after her in the future. If there are any problems, you can solve it internally. Qin Mo glanced sideways and tidied his sleeves. His nobility didn't change at all. You don't feel safe. It seems like there isn't any progress. Before reminding me, find the reason why you are still single. Yusishin narrowed his eyes and didn't say anything. So what if he was married? That promise. Yusishin shifted his gaze back to Hoshino. His eyes became deeper and deeper. As one of the groomsmen, William was in charge of receiving them. He was controlling the scene outside. Behind him was a crazy Russian man who had been chasing him recently. That's right, it was a man. William was going crazy. Was he blind? He was so straight. He even gave him flowers. What the hell? After William chased him away, he hugged a blonde beauty and said melancholically, "The person I liked since young is getting married and I have to be the groomsman." The blonde beauty took it as a joke. Just then, a person with long black hair walked over. Looking at her back view, it was truly magnificent. Especially her height, which William liked. An Asian beauty. William's eyes lit up. He flipped his blonde hair and leaned over, thinking that he was handsome. This is beautiful. He didn't finish the word person. The person in front of him glanced down. There was a sharpness in his eyes. The coldness caused William's back to stiffen. Was this a guy? Why was there such a good-looking guy? Yu Cixin laughed, full of bloodlust. Try saying the last word, let's see if I will cripple you. William. Wait a minute, the people here are all Joe's friends, right? Joe, where did you get to know so many dangerous people? His gaze could really kill someone. Yu Cixin watched as William trembled. He scoffed and walked into the auditorium. The person who walked out from inside had a black veil draped over her head. She seemed to remind him, Xian, this is Fifth Avenue. What's the meaning of speaking so harshly to my childhood friend? Yu Cixin glanced up. Did you receive the gift? Information system. The person standing in the light smiled. Such a grand gesture. Something feels off. Yu Cixin raised his eyebrows. What can be wrong? For example, you want to ask me for her. Bo Jiu walked out, her black veil swaying in the wind, gliding past the side of her face. She stood in front of the pure white church, reminding people of Lilith who lived in hell. She was like a bloodlust, a witch, a devilish beauty. Chapter 1636. Bo Jiu smiled. I have to wait until someone can take him away. Based on Hoshino's intentions, I don't want your information system. He can leave or come back anytime he wants. But honestly, my Hoshino isn't someone who can let anyone do whatever they want. Or does our young master Yu Cixin want to be the one who is pampered? Yu Cixin choked for a moment. His handsome face darkened, and a dark aura surged in his eyes. Bo Jiu took a step forward. Her aura was still there. The black veil made her beautiful beyond compare. You really seem to be pampered. Yu Cixin gritted his teeth but didn't say anything. Be your best man. Maybe I'll let Hoshino go if I'm happy. Of course, Bo Jiu said this intentionally. In fact, even if Yu Cixin didn't mention it, Bo Jiu had already planned to tell Hoshino about the agreement today. Outside the church, William watched a group of people walk over. Albert was standing beside him. Ever since Qin Mo won the last time, Albert basically provided everything related to the church. After all, he couldn't understand that guy's background. Now, there were so many people here. The two foreigners were confused. This church isn't bad. Coco commented. When we get married, we can hold our wedding here. Rao Rong added, that's a little difficult. Forget about people who don't even have a girlfriend. Coco. You make it sound like you have one. Come, take a tourist photo for me, Lin Feng said. Mo Bei carried her school bag. Her small figure stood there helplessly. Why did people who came to get married still have the mood to take tourist photos? William, who was standing there, felt even more helpless. After all, these people were dressed like normal people. They should be guests who came to attend the wedding. But tourist photos. What was going on? Were they bullying him because he didn't understand Chinese? William was hesitating if he should go forward to greet them. Feng Yi walked over, exuding the aura of a businessman. Excuse me, are you Mr. William? We are here to attend the wedding. William nodded. I am. It wasn't easy to find a normal person. He had to cherish it. What about them? Feng Yi asked again. He saw that Mo Bei, who was standing next to him, had already raised her head. Her eyes landed on a spot. It was Bo Jiu, dressed in a black veil and holding a dark red rose in her hands. She looked like she was in a manga. The moment she walked out, a black warbler flew up behind her, and large clumps of black feathers fell. On top of her silver hair, there was a black diamond crown, evil and luxurious. At that moment, only then did people realize that this person was really going to get married. It was just that the wedding dress was different, and the accessories were also different. It was as if it had come to the demon world and met its beautiful master. Master. Mo Bei walked over. Her small figure had no emotions on her face. She reached out and helped Bojio to lift the gauze. She was carrying a school bag on her back. Bojio smiled. She reached out and caressed Mo Bei's head. "You're here?" Mo Bei grunted and stood there obediently. This was the scene Qin Mo saw when he came out. He narrowed his deep eyes and heard a sudden F***ck from the other side. "I'm not sure what kind of password our Lord Jiao would change, but it's definitely something like a confession." Chapter 1638. Little Blackie's automatic recognition function was about to go haywire. How was that possible? How could that be its owner? There could only be one owner. But the system told it that this person was also its owner? The electronic network wasn't stable. Was it or wasn't it? Because of the man in the priest's robe, the navigation screen in the Lamborghini started to jump. In the church, everything that needed to be prepared had been prepared. The door was opened and light shone in. Crimson roses were scattered all over the floor. Little Mo Bei changed her clothes and didn't carry her little school bag anymore. She wore a white tang suit and held a bouquet of flowers in her hands. She followed behind Bojio. She was very small, but because of her cold aura, she looked very cute. As for Bojio, when the black veil on her rose, the back of the veil dragged on the ground. It meandered but didn't seem heavy at all. Perhaps only someone like Bojio could wear a black British veil dress with such an effect. It was beautiful and full of charm. The tear mole at the corner of her eyes added to the evilness. Regardless of whether it was the Supreme Alliance or William and the others, they all sat on the long bench as the family members. They didn't inform their family about this wedding. And the planning of everything. Qin Mo handed it over to Grandfather Butler. Grandfather Butler was still wearing a tuxedo. But today, there was an additional tray on his white gloves. There were 2 rings on the tray, both inlaid with black diamonds. And at the top of the church, the priest was already standing. He was holding the Bible in his hands. But he gave off a lazy and elegant aura. Of course, at this moment, no one would notice the priest. As for this priest, he was also found by Albert. To him, it couldn't be any more ordinary. It was also far away. He didn't stand at the side. When the priest started to read the oath, many white pigeons flew up. Qin Mo looked at Bojio. His eyes were deep, like the vast ocean and the mountains of Kunlun. Under the layers of light, it was because of the long silence that finally started to boil. "I do." The black veil matched with the white clothes from ancient times. The beauty created by the collision was even more layered. That was the most unique wedding that many people had ever seen. It was very romantic. Black feathers kept falling from the top of the church. They hid both of their faces. Everything seemed like something that could only be seen in a comic. Moreover, Lin Feng and Yun, who were standing beside them. "You're mine from now on." This is what Lin Feng said. Yun Hu replied. He glanced at a certain someone's red ears and smiled. It was not easy for them to finally be together. From thinking that they would never meet again, to finally recognizing each other. It seems that no relationship is easy. But it was precisely because of this that after experiencing separation, people would know how to cherish each other. Tears welled up in Shui Yaoyao's eyes. The others were the same. When their gazes landed, everything was clear. Unexpectedly, when Bojio tossed the flowers, she walked over to Hoshino and placed the flowers in his arms. Her voice was so faint that only the two of them could hear her. Hoshino, the promise is off. From now on, you have to live for yourself. Hoshino was shocked. Everyone knew what the bouquet of flowers at the wedding symbolized. She hoped that the person who received the bouquet would be as happy as she was. But when Bojio straightened her body, she added evilly, "Find a girlfriend soon." Yusishin narrowed his eyes. Chapter 1639. When Hoshino heard that, he glanced down at the bouquet in his hand. He was the only one present who wasn't wearing a suit and was only wearing a white shirt. The corners of his lips seemed to curl up, and there was a faint glow in his gentle jade-like eyes. I've always been very free. Basically, he was saying that the agreement was voluntary. Because it's you, Z. So everything was voluntary. Is there such a feeling? You are not family, but you have been together since you were young. When he saw that she was lonely, he wanted to protect her. Hoshino would probably never forget the scene of that little young lord reaching out to him while he was covered in blood. At that time, it was still raining, but because he was holding a hand, it seemed like the whole world wasn't so cold. Seeing her happy, he felt happy in his heart. She was missing. He wanted to find her frantically. Now, she was like a witch, but there was light behind her. They were suitable to be relatives, not lovers. Chin Mo was the kind of person who could make her eyes light up, make her feel that there was hope, and make her believe in certain things. And he was most suited to do this, to withdraw at the right time. Hoshino freed one hand and leaned forward, hugging Bojio lightly. Okay. The word good made Yusishin's expression turn even uglier. He looked directly at Chin Mo. As the groom, how could he not react when his bride was being hugged by someone else? Chin Mo glanced at him faintly. His expression was just like the character he played in the game, indifferent and with the aura of a wine immortal. It was as if he was saying, I'm already married, so you should be the one worrying. Yusishin narrowed his eyes again. Because of Hoshino's actions, no one noticed the mischievous smile on the priest's face when he held on to the Bible. He didn't look like a priest at all. Instead, when they took a closer look at his eyes, they looked similar to Bojio's. Only when William paid the bill did he realize that the priest was gone. On the other hand, there was an extra coat and a wig. What was going on? Before William could react, a priest ran over hurriedly. He was a typical blonde foreigner. When he saw William, he said, "Oh no. God will never forgive a person like you for stealing my Bible and my robe. Are you here to ruin the wedding?" William was speechless. Was there some kind of misunderstanding? He was the one who organized the wedding. Besides, the priest robe in his hand was not what he was wearing. Wait a minute. In other words, the priest just now was a fake. He couldn't tell. William admitted that he was a little confused. The golden-haired priest was still tugging at him. I must drag you to Jesus, my God, and make you repent. How dare you hit a priest's head? William wanted to say that he really wasn't the one who hit him, but a wave of believers surged out. At this time, a slender figure appeared next to the Lamborghini, but this time, he changed into his own appearance. The AI system quickly identified Xiao He, and it was no longer confused. It recognized the person in front of it, but it was erased by that person. Now is not the time. However, that kid from the Qin clan is indeed not bad. This time, our Lord Jiao can be considered to have gotten what he wanted. After all, he has wanted to raise him since he was young. Xiao He was still resisting, obviously not wanting its data to be erased. Chapter 1640. At the church. William, who was the scapegoat, was being chased around the church. F***ck, was it wrong for him to wear a wig? That was why he shouldn't have attended the wedding of the devil Chin Mo. If it wasn't for Joe, he wouldn't have come. What the hell is going on? William was almost out of breath from running. In the end, no one knew who the fake priest was, because the wedding wasn't affected. On the other hand, those roses and black feathers were also brought by the impostor. When Grandfather Butler found out about this, he had been puzzled. Why wasn't there any data on Little Blackie? Logically speaking, the fake priest would have passed by Little Blackie. Or was Little Blackie not activated? Impossible. But Little Blackie didn't have any reaction. Young Lord was the only one who could make it behave like this. Unless, at the thought of this, Grandpa Butler's usually elegant face changed. Master. Was Master back? Was that possible? The gentlemanly butler didn't tell Boggio. If he told young Lord when he wasn't sure, she would be stuck in the past. This matter had to be investigated. After the wedding, everyone went to the hotel. Only Chin Mo and Boggio stayed in the church. I have something to show you. Chin Mo, who was dressed in an ancient white robe, couldn't resist him. After all, she liked to look at faces. They were both wearing the same diamond ring. Boggio was still wearing the black veil. Logically speaking, it wasn't convenient for her to move. But to Boggio, it wasn't a problem. After all, she was famous for climbing walls. Walking in the black veil was still very handsome. But Chin Mo didn't let her go. Of course, he had to lead his wife. Hence, Boggio was like a little kid, obediently being led by him. Occasionally, when she lifted her brows, the devilish aura of a demoness could be seen. When it came to this point, she was still a little unconvinced. When they were young, she had pounced on the Almighty like it was a game. Now, it was a little difficult. The Almighty was too reserved. That wasn't good. But after marriage, she should be able to do whatever she wanted. Chin Mo arched a brow, glancing over. What naughty thoughts are you having again? Boggio smiled mischievously. Brother Mo, we're already married. You can't simply suspect me. From now on, my priority is to get pregnant, not to do bad things. After she was done here today, she would seriously pay a visit to the Black brothers. He wanted to see if there was anything good he could use on the Almighty. Hearing this, Chin Mo frowned. Sometimes, this guy couldn't be too cooperative. He already regretted bringing up the subject of children. How could he forget that when this guy saw a child, he wouldn't have eyes for anyone else? The sky gradually darkened. Nightingale soared, but many black feathers still fell down. This was a scene that could only be seen in the devil realm. Even the vegetation beneath their feet was the color of smoke. Blue flowers floated on the water. Everything was too beautiful to be real. He brought her to the cliff behind the church. On the surface, there was nothing special about it. Wait for the sky to turn dark. Just like that, Chin Mo hugged Boggio and leaned against the tree. His voice was calm, his aura of abstinence making people want to flirt with him. It was a pity that Boggio's thoughts were seen through. Now, both her hands were pressed into the Almighty's embrace, unable to move at all. Chapter 1641. Wasn't that perfect? Boggio thought. She was about to stand up. Her wrist was pressed down again. Aren't you going to look at the thing I prepared for you? Chin Mo asked casually. What is it? Was it a game? She had played Super Mario before. But she realized that cultured people's confessions were different from others. The only thing she could learn from porn was how to give flowers and cars. The Almighty's was better. But as an overbearing CEO, she didn't have to think too much. One of them was in charge of romance while the other was in charge of throwing money. It was quite suitable. Anyway, he liked whatever she gave him. Chin Mo didn't answer her question, just asking her to wait. The night deepened a little. The entire church was like a palace that had been ignited, flowing with the golden light of the lights. Some people said that the Western hell wasn't like what people imagined, a sea of blood everywhere. In the West, Lucifer was the ruler of hell. Under the holy city of Jerusalem, the beautiful archangel had built the most beautiful palace in hell after she fell. It was like a church in the human world. But there wasn't any holy light. The scene was like a description of the western hell. The wind was gentle, no sound could be heard except for the occasional black feather or flower petals falling. The surface of the lake was like the legendary other shore, very quiet. The moonlight was cold, a plate full of stars, outlining the entire Milky Way. Bo Jiao stood up, her eyes glowing. Was it this? The Almighty had asked her to wait. Bo Jiao tilted her head, wanting to ask. He leaned over and lit something. It was a Kongming lantern. Mo and Jiao were written on it. When a Kongming lantern rose, it was like a command. Hundreds of thousands of Kongming lanterns rose with the wind, filling the entire night sky. It wasn't lit with an open flame. It was more like the wind generated by electricity. He used the most ancient Chinese language to confess. That was probably what Qin Mo wanted to do. He stood there tall, his clothes fluttering. When the wind blew, the corners of his robe fluttered. He held a Kongming lantern in his hand, like an ancient prince dressed in white. The thousands of lights in the church behind him seemed to be unable to resist his deep eyes. All the starlight fell into his eyes. It was a scene that seemed to only appear in comics, but now it was reflected in everyone's eyes. This place didn't look like China. On the business street of Fifth Avenue, people were surprised when they saw the lights in the distance. What's that? So beautiful. Someone explained to his friend, that's a Kongming lantern, something from the east. There are so many of them. Why would they appear there? Should we go and take a look? It's too beautiful. Someone must be making a wish. A large number of Kongming lanterns occupied the entire sky above the church. Almost everyone could see Mo Jiao's name floating above. Those who didn't understand Chinese characters would think that it was some special symbol. Chapter 1642. Hoshino didn't say anything. He looked at the sky lanterns that were slowly rising outside the car window. His gaze was deep. Yu Cixin smirked. Don't tell me you still can't let her go? She's already married. Hoshino glanced over. If we stop, the police car behind us will be coming. Why would I be afraid of a police car? With Yu Cixin's status, he didn't have to be afraid. Hoshino's voice was as smooth as jade. I'm saying that we should go. You have something on your side. Yu Cixin paused before turning the steering wheel. The corners of his lips that were hidden in the darkness lifted slightly. If it was the wedding night. Tonight was the real wedding night. In the greenhouse near the church, in the bathtub, the black muslin fluttered layer by layer with the water waves, wrapping around Qin Mo's white shirt. The starry sky was reflected above his head. Everything was beautiful. His breath rose along with the temperature in the room. Her phone was ringing on the ground. She didn't bother. Bo Jiao only said one sentence. Clothes, he kissed her neck. His breath came over. It was hot and heavy. I'll help you wear it later. The numbness spread from his fingers to her entire body. When the black muslin faded, the feeling from her tailbone became even stronger. Bo Jiao could feel the heat from his body. It was so hot that it seemed to be able to burn all her rationality. He pressed her wrist against the edge of the bathtub. The black muslin was messily piled around her waist. Because of her actions, the bathtub was full. She could see the distinct black and white shirt. It covered Bo Jiao's body. Her jade-like skin was imprinted. Even the corners of her eyes were red. Every part of her body was covered with jade-like water droplets. It made him want to destroy her even more. When a demoness moved, she would always be extremely beautiful. She was alluring everywhere, but she didn't know it. It was a pity that there weren't many people who could get a demoness. That was because most men liked pure white people. Moreover, a demoness would never be manipulated by anyone. She wouldn't show such an expression easily. Unless that person was specific. For example, Bojio and Chin Mo. When she saw Chin Mo, her heart would itch. It wouldn't disappear no matter what. Because in her eyes, when he did such things, very few people can be like him. When his ascetic aura was broken, a fatal sexiness flowed out from his handsome face. He was like a white-robed deity who had fallen into the demon world. His entire body was cold and noble, but his eyes were tainted with something else because of her. How could he not be tempted? Bojio chuckled and pulled them closer. However, he didn't stop at all. This was the only time he didn't listen to her pleas. Enough. Enough. Bojio's breathing was unstable. The water flowed even faster, and the sound of water hitting the floor was extremely clear, echoing in the bathroom. Bojio's eyes started to slacken from the joy. Droplets of water flowed down his black hair and landed on her collarbone, burning her mind into a blank. Chapter 1643. It was still early. He had plenty of time to let her experience the restraint he had towards her for a long time. Fifth Avenue. A famous entertainment venue. There were all kinds of people coming and going. Mo Bay was still young and wasn't allowed to enter in the country. But overseas, it wasn't that strict. Even if Mo Bay didn't want to enter, Coco, the rich second-generation young master, insisted on bringing her there to broaden her horizons. Take a look when you're young. When you grow up, don't be curious about this place. It's just a drink, there's nothing special about it. Coco said as he drank a mouthful of beer. Then, he said to the other side, hurry and call little Spade over, it's a bachelor party. How can a bachelor party be held on the day of a wedding, do you understand? Lin Feng bit open a bottle of beer. Since he was so happy, it didn't matter if he drank more. Feng Yi hung up the phone, dressed in a suit. No one picked up. Stop calling, you guys drink first. Get a fruit plate for little Mo Bay, didn't you say you were thirsty? Lin Feng had just finished speaking when Coco shouted. Coco shouted, sh*t. What sh*t? Lin Feng still hadn't realized the severity of the problem. Coco looked towards little Mo Bay, who was sitting on the sofa and drinking an entire glass of barbecue. He grabbed his hair. I forgot, there's alcohol in it too. Could it be that little Spade kissed her disciple and wants to settle the score with me tomorrow? Lin Feng frowned. What do you mean? Coco looked at little Mo Bay in disappointment. The rest of the people also looked over. The glass in little Mo Bay's hand was already empty. Her eyes were dark and penetrating. But the people from Supreme Alliance almost all knew that they couldn't let this child drink. She should be fine, she only drank one glass. You said the same thing the last time. Feng Yi raised his hand and rubbed his brows. Before he could speak, little Mo Bay stood up with an expressionless face. My favorite thing to do is to play games. That's it. She was drunk. Someone who could get drunk in 3 mouthfuls was really, the person I like the most is Spade Z, little Mo Bay said and hugged Lin Feng. Her face was still calm. Lin Feng froze as he watched her carry the next one. Wait a minute, little Mo Bay, wait a minute, Lin Feng said and turned to Coco. Hurry up and stop her. Coco replied, it's not appropriate for me to stop you. I'm straight. F***ck, me too. Yunhu's gaze drifted over and he swallowed the word. F***ck, what should I do? Coco replied, wait for Yao Yao, she went out to answer the phone. When little Mo Bay was drunk, she liked to hug people. She was really talented. After all, none of the drunkards looked like they weren't drunk. Moreover, he had a cold expression on his face. Then, she said, Master is married and will have a baby soon. I want to learn how to cook and take care of the baby. Lin Feng, then why are you hugging me? Senior Lin. Little Mo Bei looked up. Lin Feng thought to himself, "You've finally woken up a little." In the next second, this thought was shattered. Because it's impossible for you to counterattack. After little Mo Bei finished speaking, she added, "This is a problem of temperament." Lin Feng's handsome face didn't know what expression to make. Coco was laughing so hard that he covered his stomach. Chapter 1644. No one is allowed to give her alcohol in the future. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. Little Mo Bei was expressionless. "Senior Lin, are you angry out of humiliation?" Lin Feng only wanted to say, "Who can take this little poker face away? Hurry up and take him away." Such a scene was very funny. Because it's hard to get together. So when Yao Yao finished the phone call and sat back, she didn't have the intention to take Mo Bei away. She knew it very well. In the future, there would be fewer and fewer times like this. We have to learn to face separation. This was probably a form of growth. Another phone call came in. Shui Yao Yao hung up. The person who called her was a girl who liked Jiang Zhuo recently. He probably really treated her as Jiang Zhuo's sister and kept asking her what Jiang Zhuo liked. She rarely went back to the Jiang family anymore. He hadn't contacted anyone recently. It was not because of anything else. But on the team's side, some things had already been taken care of. Almost everyone knew that ever since God Lin and Uncle Lin had retired, they had become extremely competitive. The captain didn't think of continuing. The Asian Cup was also over. It seemed like the wish he had made that year had been fulfilled. Logically speaking, he should be happy. However, he still felt that it was a pity. Why did he leave in such a way? She could no longer find any news about Goddess Luo. He would probably live a good life with Almighty Shao. But Shui Yao Yao was someone who had started playing professionally later. In her memory, she could never forget that long-haired figure who stood as the #1 wizard in the entire server. Many girls wanted to be her. Yet he had to watch her retire in such a manner. Shui Yao Yao raised her hand and drank a glass of wine to suppress her emotions. He looked at the expressionless Mo Bei who was hugging the cola. Mo Bei got up, reached out, hugged her and said seriously, "Sister Yao Yao, I'm drunk." Lin Feng finally found a chance to complain. "You still know that you're drunk?" Mo Bei glanced at him. "Beauty Lin. Team Flower Lin, this form of address." Lin Feng froze again. "If I don't settle the score with your master tomorrow, my surname isn't Lin." Mo Bei ignored him and started talking to herself again. "Master told me to train well and win the championship in the future. That way, people will always remember Supreme Alliance." Shui Yao Yao's fingers paused, then she smiled. That's right, how could she forget? There was also little Mo Bei. Honestly speaking, the esports industry relied on talent. Some people were not suited to play professionally. And little Mo Bei really lived up to the word genius. But compared to a genius, what was reassuring was that at such a young age, he already knew how to take responsibility and persevere. He never slacked off in his training and studies because he was stronger than others. No wonder every time Highness Jiao saw someone, he would say, "Our Bei is especially fierce when it comes to hitting people. But she gets shy easily and can't take teasing." A while ago, Zhao Sanpang had exploded in the chat group because of this matter. "Little Spade, it's fine if you flaunt your love in the past, but now you're telling everyone you meet that you don't have a disciple but I do. Aren't you embarrassed?" But Highness Jiao only asked, "Envy? The most handsome fatty in the world, I will go and accept a disciple tomorrow." "Just accept him, he isn't as good as my disciple," Spade Z said. "Most importantly, my disciple's cooking is amazing." On the same day, Zhao Sanpang posted on his WeChat moments that he was looking for a disciple. There was only one condition: anyone who graduated from a chef technical school will do. At that time, someone commented that Grandpa Fatty was going to change his career and open a restaurant. Now, Zhao Sanpang had indeed opened a restaurant. It seemed to be very far away from the industry. Sometimes, Shui Yaoyao would want to see them compete again. Chapter 1645. The next day. Mo Bei, who was pressing her head, had forgotten what she had said. Her little abstinence was basically telling herself that she wouldn't drink again unless her master was around. However, Lin Feng took this matter seriously. He pondered that he had to counterattack once. What did he mean by he couldn't counterattack because of his temperament? He was giving in to Yunhu, okay? This time, he definitely wouldn't be so gentle. Lin Feng watched Yunhu walk out of the bathroom. Without a word, he extinguished his cigarette and pressed him against the wall. There was a hint of alcohol in his breath. Probably because he didn't drink much, it wasn't unpleasant. There was even the fragrance of alcohol. Everyone knew that Lin Feng was good-looking. His handsome face turned over. When he got closer, the collar of his shirt was already crooked. He was so handsome that he looked like a rascal. Do you want to go to the bed yourself, or do I have to use a stronger method? Yunhu only needed one glance to know what he was thinking. His black hair was still dripping water. He reached out and took the towel away. His expression didn't change. I'll go myself. So cooperative. Lin Feng frowned and sized him up. Don't tell me you want to do something when you kiss me senseless. Yunhu laughed at his words. MMH? You admit that you feel good when I kiss you. Brother, that isn't the point. Lin Feng scoffed. Yunhu gestured for him to look at his finger. Lin Feng glanced over and saw the ring he had worn yesterday. It was black and engraved with his name. Yunhu's black hair was still dripping water. He lowered his eyes and looked at him. We aren't brothers for a long time. Are you calling me hubby, or am I calling you hubby? Lin Feng choked on his words. He turned his head and said, this title is awkward. Yunhu thought for a moment and said, it is quite awkward. Lin Feng suggested. I'll call you Madam Lin from now on. Yunhu looked up and seemed to smile. Taking advantage of me verbally? How is this verbally taking advantage of me? In terms of months, I'm older than you, right? Lin Feng felt that his hair was an eyesore and threw the towel back. Yunhu took it, a smile on his face. You're just older than me in terms of months, the rest, heh. At first, Lin Feng didn't understand what it meant. After thinking for a while, he pushed her to the edge of the bed. White shirt and black trousers. When he was wearing it, it was indeed very fragrant. Yunhu looked at him. The man bent down and smiled in his ear. You'll know in a moment whether it's big or not. Yunhu didn't move, watching as Lin Feng pried open his belt. With Lin Feng's skills, as long as he was willing, Yunhu wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. After all, in terms of strength, he really couldn't compare with this person. Yunhu felt a kiss landing beside his ear. His gaze deepened and his voice became hoarse. Are you having second thoughts because of what you heard last night? I've always had this thought. Lin Feng looked down at him from top to bottom. After all, you're young Master Yun. Yunhu smiled slowly. It seems like I've finally made you feel a sense of conquest. His smile made Lin Feng's ears heat up. Don't talk. All right. Yunhu reached out, wanting to pull him closer. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. Don't move either. Yunhu's voice was still hoarse. Can't I cooperate with you? Chapter 1646. Yunhu sucked in a deep breath. He was kissed. His gaze deepened along with the person's actions. After all, it was more tempting when it came to him. But the moment he thought about how this guy had attracted many men and women because of his face, his heart tightened. Girls were probably something he would care about for the rest of his life. Girls were probably something he would care about for the rest of his life. Lin Feng glanced down, his breathing a little messy. What are you thinking about? How do I want to lock you down? Yunhu's gaze was deep and beautiful. Do you really want it? Lin Feng pressed his forehead. Of course, I've already done it. What do you think? Yunhu felt the warmth coming from his body. His black hair fell. Can't you be pampered by me? Don't you hate being tired? I'm happy to be tired. Lin Feng laughed lightly. Don't play psychological games with me. Anyway, this time, I want to be the leader. Yunhu tilted his head and looked at the face he had liked for so many years. Sure. This time, Lin Feng was the one who paused. What tricks are you playing? I'm not playing tricks. Yunhu's gaze was deep. I'm worried that after you try, you will still think that girls are better. When Lin Feng heard this, he blurted out, I only have you from the start, who else can I compare with? The moment he said this, he regretted it. Didn't this prove that he didn't have any experience and that he had learned everything from him? Yunhu laughed. That's true. F*ck, I realized that you must be doing it on purpose to spoil my mood. Lin Feng moved closer to his face. It's not that easy. Yunhu didn't dodge. I won't spoil it, I just saw that you did too much foreplay. I'm not afraid of your pain. Lin Feng snorted. Besides, I have to make you feel it. Yunhu looked at him and lowered his voice. Then you don't have to do any foreplay. I can feel it just by looking at you. It was just a sentence. But Lin Feng didn't know why when his breath landed on his face, there was a numbing feeling that couldn't be shaken off. This guy, he shouldn't have let him speak. Lin Feng had learned his lesson. He lowered his gaze and ended the conversation with a kiss. When his fingers touched the smooth lines under his palm, even though he knew that it was a person with the same body structure as him, he couldn't bear to leave because of that unique feeling. He had to admit that Yunhu's figure was really good. Any man would be envious. Lin Feng was no exception. He didn't even understand why he didn't have such a body when he was obviously stronger. The smooth texture made his whole body feel a little hot. It was just that he was constantly on guard against the other party's tricks. When Lin Feng leaned over, he was thinking of ways to avoid Yunhu's hand. Because once that guy made a move, he didn't have to think about anything else. In the end, the one who would be attacked would definitely be him. A historic mistake. He wouldn't do it again. But today, the other party was really cooperating. It was as if they were completely under his control. Lin Feng had never seen Yunhu like this. But to be honest, he really didn't look like someone who was lying under anyone. But Lin Feng didn't care so much. Now that he had the chance, he wanted it. But really, there was no trick. But Yunhu's face started to turn pale. It should be painful. Just as he was about to let go. Chapter 1647. Needless to say, Yunhu was really domineering when he said that. This made Lin Feng feel like he was hallucinating. Who exactly was suppressing who? But with Yunhu's cooperation, Lin Feng improved. Lin Feng had also improved, and he felt great. Especially the voice beside his ear and the face that was inches away. It was really easy to make people go crazy. But similarly, after going crazy, Lin Feng regretted it. Because he could sense that the other party didn't feel a trace of happiness. Even though he didn't feel good at that time, Yunhu really cared about his feelings, which was why he was defeated by the numbness. But now, he seemed to have hurt the other party. After it was over, Lin Feng saw Yunhu's pale face and panicked. He touched the trousers in his hand and put them on, wanting to make a call. Unexpectedly, his hand was held down by Yunhu. That person had a handsome face and his aura was still there. Honestly, if it wasn't for his pale face. He didn't look like he had been F***ed. However, even his lips turned pale. Are you planning to run away after trying it out? You don't think it's good enough? Lin Feng really didn't understand where this thought came from. He was anxious and said, "I'm feeling great." "Who's running away at the last minute?" "I just feel that my skills are too bad and want to ask if there's any way to make up for it." Ever since he roared out this sentence, the entire room was a little quiet. Yun, who probably didn't expect him to say this, his fingers paused. Lin Feng came back to his senses. F***ck, what did he say just now? His skills were too bad. Yun, who looked at his face, a smile flashing across his eyes. "Who do you plan to ask about this?" "That's right, who?" Was he going to tell the world that his skills were bad? Lin Feng thought about it and quickly hung up. Fortunately, it didn't go through. "You don't have to ask me." Yun, who looked at him. Lin Feng was annoyed too. He squatted by the bed with his long legs and long arms, his handsome face. "Is it very painful? Must I describe it?" Yun, who glanced down. Lin Feng said in a low voice, "It wasn't very painful before." "Didn't you say that your skills are bad?" Yun, who sighed. "Indeed, it's a long story." Lin Feng felt really guilty. After all, he knew that someone like Yun, who wouldn't lie down for anyone. "Do you need me to help you clean up?" "Forget it, it hurts to even move now." Yun, who held his forehead. "Besides, do you know how to?" Lin Feng said, "It's not like I haven't studied it before." Yun, who chuckled. "It mostly depends on talent." Normally, Lin Feng would be furious if he was teased like this. However, seeing that the man's face was pale, he was even more worried. "Do you want to go to the hospital?" "How do I tell the doctor the cause of the illness?" "Her boyfriend slept with her?" Yun, whose gaze deepened. Lin Feng felt even more guilty. "I'll go get you a glass of water." Yun, who pressed him down again, his tone unhurried. "Are you feeling guilty? Isn't that obvious?" Lin Feng was starting to regret it. With Yun, whose physique, why did he have to listen to him? Yun, who glanced at the man's naked upper body, his gaze deepening. "If you feel guilty, stay closer to me." MMH? Lin Feng didn't know what this meant. He moved closer. Yun, who continued, "Come up." Chapter 1648. Sore waist? Yun, who didn't have that feeling yet. He just felt that this person was as slow as usual in certain aspects. "Come up first." The voice was faint. Lin Feng bent his waist, and he could still see the attractive curve of his waist. Perhaps it was because of his fair skin that made him want to hold it even more. "Let me tell you, I'm quite good at helping." Lin Feng had just come up and hadn't finished his sentence. The pale-faced man who had been lying on the ground suddenly exerted strength in his hands and flipped him over, pressing him against the wall. His breath seemed to flow into the back of his ears. "Didn't I say that if you want to practice your techniques, you can ask me directly?" Lin Feng sensed what he was going to do and instinctively wanted to reach out. But looking at his pale face, he was afraid that if he used his strength, Yun would definitely be in trouble. That was the moment he panicked. Yunhu's kiss landed on the side of his neck. His breath was still hot. When his thin lips pressed against it, Lin Feng couldn't help but tremble. That kiss wasn't rushed, but it was forceful. Every part of his body seemed to be numb. It was as if he was electrified. Needless to say, how would it feel when his entire body was pressed against it? It wasn't easy for Lin Feng to press down on someone. Of course, he didn't want to be pressed back. While he wasn't bewitched, he said unsteadily, "Didn't we agree that today is the wedding day? Let me do it." "Didn't I come just now?" Yun, who didn't stop when he spoke, his eyes landing on his face. "Besides, don't you want me to stop the pain? This method is the most effective." Lin Feng thought to himself, "I don't believe you." The moment he opened his mouth, he was kissed back. It was the same kiss. Even he didn't know why. When Yun kissed him, it felt as if his entire nervous system was burning. There was a numb feeling everywhere. His body seemed to be ignited by fire. But Yun-Hu didn't let him move, the breath hitting his ear getting heavier. This suddenly made Lin Feng understand something. Actually, it didn't matter whether he pressed back or not because he knew clearly how affected this person would be because of him. That expression that didn't seem like his usual self was indescribably sexy. There was restraint and also impudence. But his face was still pale. This made Lin Feng forget about it. After all, it wasn't like he didn't enjoy it when he was down there. While thinking like this, Yun-Hu barged in. Only then did Lin Feng recover from the numbness. The burning sensation wasn't pleasant. Does it hurt? Yun-Hu lowered his voice. Before Lin Feng could finish, Yun-Hu opened his mouth again. This is the moment. You can't stop because it will hurt more if you stop. Lin Feng's breathing was messed up. His black hair fell onto the pillow, and the back of his neck was covered in a thin layer of sweat. Yun-Hu's gaze deepened. He leaned forward and planted a kiss on the back of his shoulder. His voice was raspy. At this time, we have to slowly let the other party get used to it. Then, we have to feel when he can truly accept me. Lin Feng could sense every movement he made, but he had never heard him talk about it. It would only make him more, at this moment, he did not know what point he had hit. Lin Feng's eyes widened and he grabbed the bed sheets with his left hand. Chapter 1649. Lin Feng's entire body turned numb, his tailbone trembling. Seems like it. Yun-Hu lowered his body. He had been controlling his strength, but at this moment, he didn't seem to care anymore. What else did Yun-Hu say next? Lin Feng couldn't take it anymore. His mind was so blank that he could only protest. Yun-Hu lowered his voice. Isn't it great? Me too. An entire day of entanglement. The temperature kept rising. He could hear the sound of breathing. And the flirtatious shaking of the bed. The European-style bed, especially the one in the hotel, wasn't that sturdy. When Lin Feng woke up, it was already 2:00 in the afternoon. He heard Yun-Hu talking on the phone. He sat by the bed, one hand buttoning his white shirt. They were both under pressure, but why was he so much more energetic? Was it just his imagination that his face was pale? Sensing that he was awake, Yun-Hu hung up and glanced over. Are you hungry? Lin Feng's stomach growled. Order the hotel service first, I want to eat mutton. Have some porridge first. Yun-Hu buttoned the last button and lowered his body, using his forehead to touch Lin Feng's. Lin Feng arched a brow. What are you doing? I was too fierce, I'm afraid you might have an adverse reaction. Yun-Hu's voice was faint. Lin Feng paused. Am I that weak? Better than me. Yun-Hu chuckled lightly. I have a slight fever, but I took medicine. Lin Feng looked at his lips, which hadn't recovered. It didn't seem serious when you were torturing me. You seem quite strong, didn't I tell you not to move around? Yun-Hu's voice was a little hoarse. I wanted to hug you to sleep, but who knew you would stir up the fire? Lin Feng didn't care since he had the mindset of a straight man. How are you now? I'll get you some medicine. He was about to get up, his actions suave. Yun-Hu pressed him down. It's fine, I'll be fine in a while. It's not that hot. Have some porridge with me and we'll meet Little Spade tonight. Did you forget about the call? Lin Feng suddenly thought of something and felt relieved. It was Little Spade's call. Yun-Hu sat there, his side profile giving off the vibe of an aristocratic young master. Lin Feng put on his trousers. His face was beautiful, but his movements were rough and he looked like a rascal. When he lowered his head to pull the zipper, he said, I've thought about it. You should serve me in the future. I couldn't tell in the past with that body of yours, but now I know. When Yun-Hu heard this, he glanced over, his lips curving into a smile. I'll let you indulge yourself this once. You're thinking too much. If I want to do something to you, it won't be a matter of minutes. Lin Feng was wearing a pair of black trousers. He bent down and patted his face. He didn't use much strength, but it was manly. I'm going easy on you. Yunhu glanced up. His aura was still there, but he was smiling more than before. I know, Almighty Lin Feng is going easy on me. If not, why would I be able to suppress him? Lin Feng retracted his hand. I'll call room service. There's no need for that. Yunhu stood up. It's the first day of marriage, we have to have a formal meal. Lin Feng looked at him and then at himself. He was covered in marks and he had to choose clothes to wear. Was this guy born in the year of the dog? Getting off the bed and getting off the bed were really two different people. Chapter 1650. Yun, who had always been someone else's child in his mother's eyes. If it was someone else, with his mother's personality, she would definitely give that person a hard time and would not be able to get over it for a while. Now, in his mother's words, Yun-Hu was the one who called home to tell them he was safe. When he drank too much, Yun-Hu was the one who brought him home. When the washing machine broke, Yun-Hu was the one who fixed it. His mother's meaning was clear. Yun-Hu was her biological son. Seriously. Lin Feng felt that appearance and temperament were too deceiving. Yun-Hu didn't know what he was thinking. After he tidied himself up, he turned and said, "When you were asleep, your phone rang. It should be a call from home, but I didn't receive it. Call Mom in a while." I know. Calling her mother was getting smoother. This guy. Lin Feng put on his belt watch. Indeed, after he grew up, his temperament came out. Now he walked out, looking like one of those young headhunters often seen in movies. But he was too good-looking. His chiseled face gave off the vibe of a playboy. Such a person was the most likely to attract love. But he didn't know it. Yun-Hu's gaze deepened. When the person turned his head, he kissed him. Lin Feng was still tidying up his watch. His scalp went numb and his legs went soft. In the end, his breathing was unstable. He leaned his head on Yun-Hu's shoulder. His face was hot, but he was happy. Life after marriage. It wasn't scary. In the past, he thought about what would happen if they didn't get along well. After all, they were both men. The process from brothers to lovers wasn't simple. Sometimes, he would think about what if one of them was tired of it and wanted to give up. Now, it seemed unlikely. He glanced at the other girls on the way. He would whisper, "What's the use? I can't kiss you until your legs go soft." Or, "Almighty Lin Feng wants to betray us." In the past, he didn't think Yun-Hu would feel uneasy. The more they interacted, the more Lin Feng understood. Uneasiness was relative. Because they cared, they had their own uneasiness. But this person would hold hands with him on the streets, not caring about other people's gazes. Even if it was a business occasion. He would bring him home. He couldn't be too obvious because both of them were mature and understood the rules of society. But as long as it was necessary, he would not deliberately conceal it. Thanks to the appearance of this person. Enough for him to like for many years. It was different from the way she dated Lin Feng and Yun-Hu. In the villa. Bo Jiao was about to leave after her shower. After Qin Mo grabbed her, he took the hairdryer over and let her lie on his long legs. The young butler often felt that his young master was no different from raising Miss Jiao when he was young. The only difference was that ninth young mistress loved to tease their young master. Qin Mo glanced down at the person who had reached out to touch his ear. His ascetic aura didn't diminish. After he removed the hairdryer, he lowered his body and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Almighty Z, behave yourself unless you want to return to bed." Bo Jiao paused. A wise man submits to circumstances and retracted her hand. Forget it, she would just admire his beauty. Don't get touchy. Even if your heart is itching, you have to endure it. Chapter 1651. Little Bojo. MMH? Do you really want children? MMH, 2 years later, it's not good for your health. Alright. That was what Bojo promised him. But when he received a call from the superintendent on 5th Avenue, he needed his help. Bojo stood up and laughed lightly. You go, I'll bring Beauty Lin and little Mo Bay around. It was true that they were going around. But it was also true that they were going to the Black brothers' place. When the Black brothers saw the familiar Lamborghini, their first reaction was to leave. But that person's driving skills were too good. With a beautiful swing of the tail, he blocked them in the corner. The Black brothers. Seriously, they were unlucky. Hey, brother. The Black brothers. Who's your brother? Have a chat? Bojo smiled. Okay. The Black brothers, as if they could reject. They went over and squatted at the corner. They had never been treated like this when the superintendent chased them. I have something to do now. Bojo stood there, leaning against the sports car. She was low-key and black, but she was as evil as a vampire aristocrat. The Black brothers spoke in a foreign language. What is it? Bojo unwrapped a lollipop and placed it in her mouth. My one doesn't want children. The Black brothers. Wait a minute, was there something wrong with their hearing? Her one? The demoness had someone? Who exactly was it? They really wanted to take a look. They were really impressed. They were really impressed. Do you have anything that can make people submit without hurting them? Bojo lowered her voice. When the African-American brother heard this, he had already imagined a drama. For example, the other party must be a pretty boy and especially handsome. But this person definitely wouldn't dare to interact with the demoness. Of course, the demoness was indeed beautiful. But now, they had to use a supplementary item to force themselves on her. This was indeed a little. Sigh, they didn't know if the other party was lucky or unlucky. The Black brothers glanced at each other. They still had a conscience and didn't want to push her into the sea of fire. However, Bojo knew them too well. She laughed again and played with the lighter in her hands. It seems like you really have it. As expected of the street tyrants. Why would a street tyrant be blocked by you? Are you praising me or insulting me? The Black brothers had mixed feelings. After all, this witch's methods. Come, tell me. Bojo smiled brightly. What is it? Which one of your shops has it? The Black brothers felt that if they weren't, the man would have thrown the lighter directly into the oil barrel next to him. In order to survive, they immediately straightened their bodies and pulled out the oil barrel. It's too expensive, it's not worth it. The Black brothers. You're still bargaining? We've known each other for a few years and we're all brothers. Won't you feel guilty if I don't give you a discount? Bojo glanced down, her fair hand hanging by the side of the tub. The Black brother immediately said, 10% off. You're a good brother. Bojo patted his shoulder. You're so generous, I'm embarrassed. The Black brother. Hurry up and leave. You're smiling so much that your eyes are curved. You don't look embarrassed at all. Bojo found what she wanted and whistled in a good mood. She sat in the car and waved at them. Chapter 1652. The black Lamborghini had just disappeared and they were about to stand up. A slender figure walked out from the back of the long alley. Because of the climate, the weather wasn't very hot at this time. That person was wearing a beige trench coat. His skin was very white and he gave off a cold and abstinent feeling. At the same time, he was very refined and had an indescribable scholarly aura. It wasn't common to see such an Asian person. But this didn't stop them from thinking of the sickly man that Asians often talked about when they saw this person. After all, he was too white. The Black brothers stood up, their hearts filled with anger. This person actually dared to come to their street. Wasn't he looking for trouble? One of them glanced at the person beside him. Then, his gaze landed on that person's cufflinks. Although they didn't know what private collection it was, but they could tell that it was very valuable. They had already made up their minds to snatch it later. Even their gazes were very fierce. That figure didn't seem to notice them at all. He walked in front of them and said calmly, "What did you give her just now?" It was Chinamo. After all, there was a person in the family who might do something bad at any time. Of course, he had to follow and watch from time to time. If Bojio hadn't been too immersed in the joy of getting something good, she wouldn't have missed it when she first went out. Of course, it was true that Chinamo went to help the director. It was also true that there was a location in the ring he gave her. It seemed as though he couldn't take it anymore, even if there was a small possibility of losing her. Chinamo decided to make a location for both rings. In other words, if he was missing, she could find him through the ring. If she was missing, he could find her through the ring. This was mutual. However, the Black brothers didn't know who the person in front of them was. They felt that other than being good-looking, how could such a person be a threat? He returned to his usual vicious smile. "Pretty boy, do you know where this place is?" "The gray area of Fifth Avenue." No one would care about it. If they weren't from the underworld, not many people would dare to come. This pretty boy was really the type who walked right into a trap. "Hey, don't be so unfriendly." One of them lowered his voice. "Don't be so loud when dealing with an Asian kid. If he faints, how are we going to get the money?" "Ha ha ha, that's right." Chinamo listened to the laughter but didn't say a word. The man continued, "Bro, don't say that I'm not helping you. Hand over your cufflinks first. If you want to ask anything else, we can talk about the price." "Cufflinks?" Chinamo glanced down at his right wrist. The cufflinks weren't big, but they glowed faintly and looked very luxurious. Chinamo exuded a noble aura. She didn't like to wear any accessories. The only thing that exuded an evil aura was the cufflinks. It didn't seem like it belonged to him, but when it came to him, it was a perfect fit. Perhaps only a person like him could bring out the value of the cufflinks. Bojio didn't use the cufflinks because she didn't think she could handle it. Ever since she had seen Chinamo, her mind had been filled with thoughts of the collections that were suppressed in the castle. Everything she wore was used on Chinamo. In her words, dressing up like a god could make her feel good. After all, she was the one who could make him take off his clothes in the end. It was too abstinent and too seductive. Chapter 1653. Not giving. The African-American brothers snorted and immediately took action. "You're really not good enough," before he could say the word Dao. The person who reached out shouted, "Sh*T." It was really painful, so painful that his expression changed. "Let go. Let go." Chinamo glanced at him and looked down coldly. "Your attitude isn't right." The Black brothers' face had never been as white as it was now. Wasn't this type of Oriental pretty boy easy to deal with? Why did it have to be this one, who was even more ferocious than the demoness who left? At least the demoness wouldn't really make a move. She wouldn't care about her attitude. But, it was really painful. It was useless even if a few of them attacked together. This person couldn't possibly know martial arts, right? When the Black brothers thought of this word, they looked at Yunhu in a different light. There was fear, but now, there was a little bit of worship mixed in. He leaned against the wall, shivering. After Chinamo fought, he would tidy himself up. His aura didn't change. It wasn't suitable for him to appear here like this. Most of the people who came to the gray area, whether it was from their clothes or appearance, belonged to the dark side. But this person was like a god in white who broke into the demon world. Even if it was dark around him, it didn't affect his elegance. The more they looked, the more the Black brothers felt that this man wasn't simple. And Qin Mo didn't hide himself at all. He stood in front of one of them. What did she take from you? The same question. This time, the Black brothers said everything they knew. They spoke in a foreign language. In the blabbering, there was only one meaning: the demoness has taken a fancy to a pretty boy. That pretty boy is probably resisting too much. The demoness wants him to be willing. Once he loses the ability to resist, she will be able to do whatever she wants. Pretty boy? Qin Mo was good at catching the main point. His voice was slow. How do you know that he is a pretty boy? The Black brother had the right to speak. Needless to say, the demoness looks at looks. She always likes those with fair skin. She doesn't want white people, those with oriental beauty, just like. At this point, the Black brother paused. Just like you, and, really, if the demoness saw you, she would definitely snatch you home. Isn't that right, brothers? The few beside him nodded in unison. Qin Mo arched a brow. Are you saying that I'm a gigolo? The Black brothers. That was what they thought in the beginning, but now, they didn't dare to say it. He really regretted learning some adjectives from Huaxia. It was too much of a trap. This matter must be explained clearly. No, we're talking about the one that the witch took a fancy to. That was just an example. Qin Mo straightened his back and suddenly changed the topic. Oh. However, the thing she wanted was indeed used on me. What? The African brothers were stupefied. Their faces were stupefied. Their eyes were rounder than ever. Did he mean that he was the gigolo that the demoness wanted? What was the witch thinking? Although the flower was beautiful, it was prickly. No wonder he came to ask for something from them. Apart from the demoness, no one would dare to have any ideas about such a person. It was too terrifying. Especially why hadn't he left yet? Chapter 1654. Most importantly, even though the demoness was a little evil, they were still on the same path. They could still bargain. Who was this person? What did he do? They had no idea. Where did the demoness find such a person for herself? Did she know that he was like this? Could it be that he was bewitched by the other party's face? The Black brothers thought about many things. Qin Mo opened his mouth at this moment. His voice was calm. Do you have a girlfriend? They shook their heads. Girlfriend? They had many mistresses. They had never thought about a formal girlfriend. Qin Mo continued, indeed, it's hard to understand someone without a girlfriend. I can only say that when she woke up today, she didn't have so many thoughts. After seeing you guys, she got some medicine to use on me. There's an old saying in China, after something happens, think about the bigger picture. The Black brothers weren't stupid. Even though this sentence was a little roundabout, they understood it. This person was saying that the demoness was like this because of them? Bro, you must be joking. You saw how we were threatened by the demoness just now. Qin Mo didn't think much of it. You guys can discuss how to solve the problem of the source of supply. If she has any messy things on her next time, I will probably look for you guys. In the future, if there's anything else, please remember not to lead her astray. The Black brothers widened their eyes. Who? Who led her astray? Raising the demoness like a child? Bro, touch your chest. Have a conscience and tell me who led who astray. They really couldn't compare to the demoness in certain aspects. But at this point, they understood. At first, they thought that the demoness found a gigolo. Now, it seemed like a gigolo. He was simply a demon. Because of this, the others who wanted to make a move before Z got up suffered. They didn't even get a chance to skip a beat. He asked his underling. The underling held his head and said to the boss, we really can't, especially in Chinatown. The man beside Z is too difficult to deal with. How can Z have a man? The boss was indignant. Another underling lowered his voice. She really has one. He seems to be related to the police superintendent. His men are everywhere. It's not easy to deal with him. Then give some money to the Chinese forces. What's wrong with that? He seems to have more money and is good at using guns. In addition, Z's intuition is too good. We can't take advantage of him at all. Boss, let's stop. It's not bad to be like before. Just don't let us sell people from China and the hackers' information. Z doesn't care about anything else. It wasn't easy for him to be free for 3 years, but he had to start following the rules set by others again. The boss would definitely feel uncomfortable. But that person was too strong. He was so strong that the entire Fifth Avenue didn't even dare to violate his bottom line. You can make money, you can even gray, but some cannot be touched, everyone must abide by. This kind of control came again. However, on second thought, they weren't the ones who would be affected the most. After all, according to Z's style of doing things in the past, she would only imprison those who were beasts in human form. As for them, as long as they didn't provoke the other party, they should be fine. The most important thing now was who exactly was the man Z was keeping. Yu Cixin was right. If those two joined hands, it would only be the others who would have a headache, in the afternoon, outside the church. Chapter 1655. It was impossible for Z to be completely obedient. Since young, Bo Jiao had been trying her best to take advantage of little Princess Qin. Now that she had gotten her hands on her, she could take advantage of her openly. How could she give up the chance? When Lin Feng walked over, he saw the devilish smile on her face. He didn't know what bad things she was thinking about. Little Spade, tell me, what are you thinking about again? Bo Jiao kept her things and stuffed one hand into her pocket. Her eyes were dark. You won't understand even if I tell you. Senior, why did you call me yesterday? Lin Feng remembered the question he wanted to ask last night and changed the topic. I just made a call. Where's your disciple? Why don't I see little poker face? Bo Jiao saw through his wavering gaze and her smile deepened. Don't change the topic with my little Mo Bei. It seems like something happened, senior. Lin Feng knew Little Spade. If he didn't tell her something, she would be more interested. He arched a brow and said generously, it's nothing, I just suppressed someone I wanted to. Bo Jiao arched a brow. Bragging again? What do you mean bragging again? Am I someone like Xiao Sanpang? Lin Feng scoffed. You can ask Yun Hu if you don't believe me. Bo Jiao looked at his guilty expression. It was different from his usual guilty expression. It seemed as though it really happened. She arched a brow and smiled. Almighty Yun is really going easy on you. Lin Feng smirked. Who's going easy on who? I'm the one going easy on him. You don't know how weak he is. He can't handle me at all. Oh. Bo Jiao was nonchalant. It seems like this is the only time. Lin Feng said righteously, you don't understand. I dote on my wife. Bo Jiao. Whose wife? Naive and sweet. But even so, such a person was willing to lie down for him. That was enough to show their relationship. Hence, in such matters, being naive and sweet wasn't bad at all. When Lin Feng was talking, he liked to place his hand on Bo Jiao's shoulder. After he started his business, he rarely did this. Yun Hu watched from the side. He liked a person not because of his appearance but because of him. Regardless of what he had experienced. He was still a youngster at heart. When the group of people walked over, she heard Lin Feng teaching Bo Jiao how to dote on his wife. Little Mo Bei carried her school bag and walked over. There was no expression on her face. Senior Lin, if master's wife sees you like this, you will suffer again. Little Mo Bei, you mustn't listen to Captain. Look at Captain, other than Little Spade, who else can touch him? This is fundamentally wrong. Good friends should put their arms around each other's shoulders for the relationship to be good. Didn't your master tell you to smile more and not be so expressionless? Little Mo Bei didn't know that Lin Feng was the only one who could touch her. I don't have facial paralysis. Little Mo Bei stood beside Bojio without any expression on her face. Lin Feng couldn't hold it in for a long time. This isn't facial paralysis. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. Little Mo Bei didn't say anything because her master was touching her head. He was watching a group of people fooling around. He felt that this was good enough. Although Senior Lin wasn't a reliable person, but some of his words were still true. If she could make friends in the future, she would try to get closer to people. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.